respective teams. Everyone else? That's right, head coach, including Ruben Amorim at Man United. He took over from Erik ten Hag, a man who had held the title of manager. Might come as a surprise that Amorim's appointment marked the first time ever that Man United had a head coach instead of a manager. But to understand why they made that decision, you also have to get what the difference is between a head coach and a manager. A manager's got a huge range of responsibilities. They're not just in charge of training and player lineups, they're also heavily involved in player sales and transfers. Critical stuff. But a head coach's role is far more focused on team training and performance on the pitch. So whereas Ten Hag was highly involved with decisions around transfers during his tenure, the intention was that Amorim wouldn't be, at least not on the same level. And as the sporting structure at Man United changed under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, people like Sir Dave Brailsford took charge of transfers instead. How all those roles play out in practice may be slightly different at different clubs though. On the other hand, the contracts of actual managers like Pep or Moyes had no limits on their job role and their involvement with transfers and contracts. But those guys are actually in the minority now, and it's a change that's happened pretty quickly. In 2019, there were only 6 head coaches in the Premier League, but by 2025 there were 14. A clear indication that more and more clubs are moving towards a model where the guy in charge is actually only really in charge on the pitch. And the way things are going, it might not be long before all 20 clubs have got head coaches, and the job position of football manager in the top flight is no more.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to Sunday Edition with me, Shaun Custis, and as usual, Henry Winter. Football's back. Okay, calm down. Men's football's back. So today we'll be focusing on life in the EFL as we examine the crisis at Sheffield Wednesday with James Silverwood of the Owl Supporters Trust, and we chat to the larger-than-life chairman of Peterborough, Darragh McAnthony. Not a great finish to the Lions tour. Yes, they won the series, but they were easily beaten in the final test in Sydney yesterday. Andrew McKenna will tell us all about it. And what about cricketers? Are they about to throw away a series win against India? Don't forget, we're live on YouTube and your smart TV, so have a look at that. Just search talksport.com/watch for more details. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT. Morning, Henry. How have you been?
Welcome back. How are the fjords?
The fjords were lovely. Norway was magnificent at this time of year. 28 degrees, shorts, T-shirts. Lovely, fantastic time. Sorry I missed your show last week, but I was rather enjoying them.
Did you get round to Sweden, have a word with them about their famous striker?
No, we didn't go there. We just strictly Norway and back. Fantastic.
Strictly Norway. That's
Strictly Norway.
That'd be a great programme. I can see you on that.
But it's a cracking place to visit at this time of year. I would recommend it. Everybody goes, why weren't you going off into the sunshine? Honestly, it was so warm, really hot. Climate change experts would have a bit of a meltdown, literally, about it, because it's very
So
warm.
what do? Do you get out into nice little chocolate box villages and just wander around?
Yes. And
eating herring? Not herring. What's the...
Don't they have a bit of whale and puff? I don't know. You just eat what's on the ship, don't you? And then you go off onto
burgers?
You just eat what's on the ship, and then you get off and you go round and places, and you come back.
Good
on the
entertainment
ship.
On the ship.
Was it
full Heidi High?
Thank you, Ambassador Cruises. Anyway, have a look in the back pages this morning. That's what we really want to get onto. You don't want to hear all about my holiday. Posh papers, rugby dominates.
Well, and rightly so. I mean, an extraordinary end to... the weather. You had nice weather in the fjords. The weather out in Sydney
like
for
playing in the field.
I mean, it was delayed for 40 minutes in the second half. They literally only just sort of come out of the break, and then they went off again. And as you say, the posh papers, the Sunday Telegraph, good but not great, which sort of sums it up in a way, in terms of it was a very good tour, but they didn't manage to do the clean sweep.
Do you know what? It felt at the
Does
end
that offend you?
quite literally like a bit of a damp squib.
Yeah.
Because you're celebrating, but it's a bit of a false celebration, isn't it? You've lost, and it doesn't feel quite right, and you want to sound upbeat, and you want to look triumphant, but you've lost, and you've lost quite easily.
You do sound like Jose Mourinho, sort of complaining about giving a last-minute goal in a 4-1 win.
Yeah, but they wanted that clean sweep. They knew they weren't playing against a great side, even though Andy Farrell claimed they were a great Australian side. They're not considered one, are they?
No, but I tell you what, with Will Skelton back in there, I mean, they were a completely different team. But I will have to say, I will miss those 11 o'clock Saturday mornings. I really, really enjoyed it. Just the intensity, the physicality. I mean, yesterday, I think, 3 players, went off with concussions. I mean, it was so physical.
That's not a good thing.
No, it's not, absolutely not a good thing. But what is a good thing is that rugby and sport, and there's been a lot written on it in football, and the issues relating to head concussions. The fact that sport is waking up and taking it more seriously. So yeah, good but not great in the Telegraph. And then motor racing. I mean,
which you didn't think you'd be talking about this morning,
I
did
really
you?
didn't. And I'm a huge Lewis Hamilton fan.
These are strong quotes.
These are strong quotes, and obviously they came, I think, from Sky and also for the written press.
Yes, afternoon. Yeah.
He did. It's a point that Jonathan McAvoy makes in the on the back of the Mail on Sunday. On a busy day for sport, with the Lions, with the Test match, the drama, Crawley late, and then all the Isaac stuff, they've gone very strong. Mail on Sunday have gone very strong. I'm useless. And I think he actually says absolutely useless, but obviously a bit of a squeeze in, whatever that is.
And suggests they should actually replace him at Ferrari, because his teammate ended up on pole position, Charles Leclerc. And it sounded to me a little bit like a football manager when they know their day's done, when they feel like it's the end of the road. Now, we weren't considering this for Hamilton at all, but
it's in the second half of the season. It is a little bit strange to do it now. I have to say, I admire his honesty. I just wasn't very good. You're just not fast enough, and obviously compounded by the fact that Charles Leclerc, in a similar car, finished on pole position. So, I mean, he has been racing elite level for 19 years. And to have that honesty, I'll be fascinating to know what Lewis Hamilton is doing in 2 years' time, whether he's running his own team, whether he's in the media, whatever, because he's a remarkable individual. And look, we've had this debate before. I think he's one of the most underrated English sports. Underappreciated English sportsmen or women of all time.
I don't know whether I agree with you on that. I think he was loaded to the rooftop
on the track.
I think he was loaded to the rooftops when he was winning world titles. We had him on the back page at Leeds all the time, and I think he was. Do you think he's truly loved
as much as he should be for what he's contributed in terms of his sporting success?
Yeah, I do. Sorry,
you do.
I do.
Okay, well that's good to hear.
What bothers me slightly about this is he went to a great name in Ferrari, which hasn't had the greatest times. It's a bit like going for Man United, saying, I'll put you back at the top. And that's really what he wanted to do, and it's just not working out that way. And I think it probably crushes him, because when he's grown up as a kid, Ferrari is it. And that's, even though he was sort of schooled by McLaren and all that, Ferrari is considered the team to join. So he'll be disappointed, as they say.
Yeah, talking about putting Manchester United back on top, which might be a lengthy progress for Ruben Amorim. Back page of your paper, The Sun, Old Trafford transfer scrap, Arabian fights. Quite like the headline.
Thank you. We came up with that one yesterday.
Yeah, well, really, you did. Yeah,
to link the two stories.
To link the two stories, which is, there's a lot of Saudi-backed in the intro here, from Lappers, Martin Lipton, laptop in Atlanta. Manchester United are braced for another Saudi Arabian mega bid for captain Bruno Fernandes. I mean, I will be surprised if he moves, having sort of committed himself. But
this is Ronaldo's team this time, who's who's after him, isn't it? Al Nazir as opposed to Al Hilal, which it was before. And you think Ronaldo brings a little more clout. But of course, as you say, Bruno has said no already. He's got the World Cup coming up next year. Do you really want to go off? But
there's an interesting piece by Lappers inside where maybe United should be telling Bruno on your bike, appropriately with a picture of him on a bike, in training.
And there is logic to it.
Well, the logic is that how many number 10s can you fit into a 3-4-2-1? You've obviously got the left-sided, which will be Mateus Cunha, right-sided, which would be Brian Mbeumo. Where does that leave Mason Mount? Bruno Fernandes, as we know, is still their best number 10. Yeah. And this idea that you can play Bruno Fernandes deeper, I mean, Manchester United fans will tell you that it's not work. He's a terrific player. He gives everything for the cause. Love all that. Good captain. I get all that. But just as a sort of a deeper midfielder, he allows runners to run off him. He's a number 10. So I can see where Lappers is coming from, but I will be amazed if Bruno Fernandes doesn't start the season for Manchester United.
That was linked with the discussion about Sesko, which is that Newcastle are trying to nick
Saudi-backed Newcastle.
Newcastle are trying to get your Arabian fights discussion in. Yeah. Two owners aim to nick Sesko off United. It's a bit up in the air about who's going to win this one. Newcastle have made a bid. There was some talk in Slovenia yesterday that he favoured going to Newcastle. Now it's, no, that's not the case. He may still want to go to Manchester United. So, and I know it's all linked as well from a Newcastle point of view with Isak. But I say you can play the two together.
But how can you under PSR?
Oh, don't bother me with all that nonsense. Well, we'll find a way.
You'll find a way.
Yes, we will.
Have you got a training ground to sell, or a women's team to sell, or you can build a hotel in the centre circle, or whatever? I mean, it is. I would be. You can't have both.
Well, back page of the Sunday Mirror talks about. Good headline, this.
Alexander the Weight. Yeah, very good.
We like that one.
Yeah, that is very good.
Liverpool saying Liverpool are delaying tactics in their bid to snare Isak. So they walk away, but they'll be coming back, but just not yet.
My one issue with delaying tactics, and I understand it financially, if you can knock, if Newcastle are expecting or hoping for 150 and Liverpool are focusing on 130, and then they're going to sort of do this sort of usual transfer deadline dance, you want to get Isak in. Liverpool will be
tough.
Up and running. well, tough. So what's your gut feel? I mean, 150 million? He's not going to go for 150 million, is he?
Yes, but that's the figure we've laid down.
Saudi backs your team.
Yes, that's the figure we've laid down. We've said it was 150 million. I think Newcastle fans, very disappointed to lose him if they did, but they'd be extremely annoyed if he was sold for any less than that, given that was the figure we've set down and told clubs that's it.
Isn't there another issue here that if you're saying we want 150 million for him, then Leipzig are going to say we want more than 65 plus for Sesko?
I'd rather keep. He's like, look, when you've got a player who's got 3 years left on his contract, I think that gives you quite a bit more bargaining power.
But how much bargaining power do you actually have if he wants to leave?
Well,
I don't know whether he wants to leave, but all
he does because he feels like he should get a better contract, and he hasn't really been offered the contract he thinks he deserves. But then when he signed it in the first place, he was very happy to sign a 5-year deal or whatever it was for the rate we were paying him.
So is there hope in your heart, in your black and white Geordie heart, that he will sign a new contract and stay?
There is some hope.
It's
a full-on. Well,
Give me a percentage.
I don't know. It's a bit fairy tale.
20%?
Yeah, let's have 20%. 25.
25% you think that he will stay?
Yeah, I'm going for 25.
So that means 75%
probably
of you.
But they'll have to up the bid quite a bit.
Right. So what do you think he'll go for? You love numbers.
Oh, it'll be 135 million plus 15 million add-ons, something like that. You know how
50
they do
million,
it.
So he could still my math
be 150 million.
150.
Yes, 135 plus 15.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Yes, that's where we're going for. That's what we're sticking out for, and anything less is not good enough.
Fantastic.
Frankly.
Very good.
So there we are. That's the back pages. This is Sunday edition on talkSPORT. Next up, Sonny is leaving Spurs.
10k for Coldplay.
Time is running out to enter our huge prize draw to win 10 grand and a VIP night out at Coldplay at Wembley Stadium. That's right, we're giving you the chance to win 6 tickets in a private box for you and your mates on August the 22nd with full hospitality. And we're chucking in that 10 grand spending money completely tax-free. It all ends tomorrow night, so here's how to enter. 18 plus UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word WIN to 83338 by the 4th of August at 11 p.m. and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or post your name and number to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com.
Thank you, Henry. What a plethora of WhatsApps have come in since our opening discussion. Is that the correct collective noun? Is it plethora of WhatsApps?
A rant
of WhatsApps. Mike the Stokey, morning, great show. I think Man United should sell Fernandes and then go all in for Isak with the money. There was a little bit of talk that Man United had thought of going for Isak, wasn't there, in the week, which should be an interesting one if they threw that into the ring there. It's anonymous, this one. I will read it out. Lewis Hamilton has been found out and showed up. This is his true level now that he's not in a rocket-powered car far faster than anything else on the track. He's done. You can always say that about champions, can't you? That they were in a faster car than everyone else. Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen. But for instance, in Verstappen's case, he's shown that only he can handle that particular car because whenever he has a teammate, they're never in the
But we've also seen Lewis Hamilton just fly through the field with his technical expertise.
He's had some good finishes this season.
He has, even in a car which has not been so great for him. So,
absolutely. So we're not having
respect.
That one. More respect. And plenty of respect for this man, Heung-min Son, who announced yesterday, as we expected, that he was leaving Spurs, but he went on the tour because they're touring South Korea. Obviously, he's South Korea international and loved and adored in that country. And it was clearly an emotional moment for him to be leaving Spurs because we talk about legends, we talk about great foreign players that have come to this country. He's up there, isn't he?
What makes a club legend? Would he have been a club legend without winning the Europa League?
It did help.
It did absolutely help. I think he would be considered one anyway, because 173 goals in 454 appearances. That partnership with Kane, some of the goals that he scored. I think he got a Puskás award. Yeah, I tweeted yesterday that he won the Match of the Day award for goal of the season. Do you remember the goal against Burnley in what was it, 2020 or 2019, when he dribbled past 7 players and scored? And a lot of Tottenham fans quite rightly reprimanded me and said he also won the FIFA Puskás award. So I mean, that you don't come much better than that, which is well, you should know as a sports editor. FIFA Puskás, well, have you heard of Puskás? Famous Hungarian footballer, Galloping Major and all that. Real Madrid, decent player. So it was a moment of individual brilliance. The goals that he scored, the joy that he... he's an ambassador. Just coming back to this point about legends, and it is a debate. He is a bona fide Spurs legend for what he achieved on the pitch, and also I think an element of what he was like off the pitch. The smiles, and not always the sort of the best of times for Tottenham Hotspur. Underachieving, whatever. And he absolutely delivered. And I was reminded of that great moment. I think it was in a League Cup game. Was it against West Ham, when that kid ran on the pitch, wanting to get to at the end of the game, wanting to get to Heung-min Son, and the stewards intervened, and the kid was sort of very emotional because he wanted to be close to Heung-min Son, and Son very diplomatically, very sort of almost like kindly and tenderly almost sort of went over to the kid and gave him his shirt and just sort of comforted him in a way, because the kid was a bit distraught. Anyway, so I think as a man, as well as a footballer, as well as an entertainer, I think he's been magnificent. And also, would you say a good ambassador for the Premier League?
Oh, without a doubt. But
commercially too. South Korea
commercially massive, yeah. The Premier League will miss him from that point of view. But you talk as a club legend, probably.
Oh,
as a Premier League legend?
Well, it depends what's your cut-off.
Well, I mean, Thierry Henry's a Premier League legend. Dennis Bergkamp is. Didier Drogba's probably a Premier League legend.
Definitely.
David
Do you have to have won the title to be a Premier League legend? I mean, it's a debate. Maybe we should do sort of something on it sort of more regularly, just sort of looking at what exactly defines a legend. But certainly from Tottenham's perspective, absolutely. And look, you have to put him up as one of the most influential foreign players.
Hugely influential.
Here.
Although Spurs, I think it's the right time for him to go, winning Europa League and going now, because Spurs fans were giving him quite a bit of stick last season.
Yeah.
And he was injured from time to time. And they thought he'd gone. In fact, there's a bit of an argument that people feel he'd gone ever since Harry Kane left, because they played as an amazing double act, sometimes one going short, another one going short, the other one making great runs, and he wasn't the same player without Kane.
Yeah, it's interesting. Where there was a sort of slight slowing on the physical side, but mentally as sharp as ever. It'd be interesting to look at Tottenham Hotspur's social media numbers in terms of South Korea, whether those dip with him, because you know what a lot of fans are like, they follow individuals as well as clubs, and if he goes to LAFC, which it looks likely, whether their numbers go up as well.
We should also remember that when he arrived, he's a young lad, he's 22 years old, he's coming into a foreign country, doesn't speak English really, and you also have to take this into account. It's a really huge move for him to get up to speed and all of that. How do you do it?
Well, I guess good people around him as well, but also I think that there was also that extraordinary scenes of him having to go back and complete military service. I mean,
but he had to win the Asian Cup or something, didn't he, to avoid it? Did he?
To do the sort of the lengthy one. But there's certainly pictures of him in uniform, looking the part. No, but I agree. But you look at clubs nowadays, particularly top level clubs. They've all got player liaison officers who will go and find him a flat in Hampstead or wherever, who will sort out his washing machine, who'll get him English lessons. I mean, the clubs are pretty switched on like that. You don't spend millions of pounds on a player and then, you know, just allow them to say, well, here's your Oyster card for the tube. It's a little bit more sophisticated than that.
But I'm interested in going back to the discussion really about legends and what makes them legends and how they become legends. Do you think he's sort of second? This is terrible. Second level legend. God, I mean, what's your top level legend? So I mentioned Bergkamp, Henry, Giggs. You know, they're. Have I missed somebody? I probably feel like I've missed somebody. What? They're the top.
Yeah. I mean, I think you'd have to include class of '92. I mean, are you going to... Where do you draw the line? I think, Shaun, we need to go and have a long lunch and debate exactly what the criteria are. I think absolutely he's clearly a Tottenham Hotspur legend, and you can go back to the sort of double winning teams and all that.
Well, is he up there? Is he up there with like Dave Mackay and stuff like this?
Yeah, because if the game is about glory, I think
Glenn Hoddle.
I think I would put Hoddle in the top.
He's not
two.
Premier League legend, obviously, but
he's
as
elite
a club
level,
as a club legend.
Glenn Hoddle.
No, I know he's a club. I'm saying, are you putting Son up there with Glenn Hoddle?
From a Tottenham Hotspur perspective, yeah, I think I think you absolutely have to. I would have Hoddle ahead, but maybe that's a bit of sort of English weighting. Yeah, Pat Jennings is. Yeah.
Martin Chivers.
Are we going to... Yeah, absolutely.
Well, no, but how many legends can you have from a club?
It depends on how much they've succeeded and achieved. Well, I know, but then doesn't it cheapen the word?
Well, doesn't it cheapen the definition of a legend then if you have, I don't know, 50?
Not really, because, I mean, pick a middle-ranking club. How many legends would you say they have? They might, without picking one out, they might have two or three. Okay, Brentford. How many Brentford? I mean, Brentford, a fantastic club. He
was a legend. Yes, sir.
I mean,
Ollie Watkins.
Are they really? I mean,
no, because you've got to have longevity as well. Do you think? Do you think you've got?
Absolutely, you have to have longevity.
How much?
Well, this is a decade, so that'll do. No, I think you can have, I don't know, 5 years minimum.
Yeah, and you have to produce all the time. But as I say, the question with Son, was he consistent enough, I think? And I know the numbers suggest he was, but Tottenham fans will tell you he wasn't always, that sometimes he wasn't as consistent as they would have liked.
No, just somebody if you're there for 10 years, you're not going to do it every week.
And the delight he got from playing for Spurs, and he possibly got... Not free pass. Sometimes he got a bit of a pass for a less than brilliant game because Spurs fans did love him. And it was really only towards the end of this season, I think, that they turned on him a bit because of Premier League performances, and he probably pulled it back by winning the Europa League.
Yeah, but I don't think there's any debate that he's a club legend. He's absolutely a Tottenham Hotspur club legend. I mean, you're being... The fact that Tottenham fans loved him, and you're saying if there was a sort of dip with the that love, which I'm not really sure there was... is just a sign of the deep affection that has been held over 9.5 years. And I also think the way you leave a club, and he's done it in a classy way. He's done it in a flood of tears. He announced it. It wasn't sort of leaked or whatever, and it wasn't suddenly an announcement in California. He's done it, and I just hope he gets a chance. And I was trying to work out how he could actually go back.
I don't know if they've got another home game friendly, which they might. Like today, he plays against Newcastle in Korea, but they may have another home friendly that he plays in before the season starts, where he can say goodbye. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point, that.
Hope so. Well done, Sonny. We love you.
Yeah.
You're a legend.
Well, you sound a bit patronising.
No, you're a legend.
I think he deserves respect.
He is a legend. No, I liked him. I loved him as a footballer.
What happens if he scores a hat-trick against your boys today?
No, impossible. Not if Big Dan Burns playing, is he? Anyway...
Dan Burn is not at England elite level. Can we have this debate at some point? I'm sorry, will you throw it in there?
Next up, we're talking cricket and wondering whether England are going to throw away a series win against India. Well, looking forward to day 4 of the 5th test between England and India at Old Trafford. England require 3-2-4 runs to win with 9 wickets remaining. Set up beautifully. Neil Manthorpe is our cricket commentator there. Good morning, Neil.
Morning, gents.
Morning, Neil.
Morning. Neil, tell me, are we witnessing England throwing away a chance to win this series? They dropped a lot of catches. They seem to have had India in their grasp from time to time, and yet could well end up with a 2-2 draw here.
It could well do. History and statistics tell us that England's chances of victory are pretty thin. The highest run chase in the 4th innings at the Oval is well below 300, and they need 374. But they chased down 371 at Headingley, admittedly on a different pitch, a more reliable pitch. This one's a little bit up and down, uneven bounce, and the fact that they're actually, in effect, they've only got 8 wickets left, because we don't expect Chris Woakes to bat unless we're in that dramatic situation with a dozen to win and he walks out, but he'll be one-handed. I mean, he literally won't be able to hold the bat with his left hand. So India, do you know, there were all the drop catches, 6 or 7 depending on how harsh a judge you are, but where they really threw it away, if they have thrown it away, it was taking a first innings lead of only 23. After the opening stand of 92 in 12.5 overs between Duckett and Crawley, they should have put the game to bed there. They should have had a lead of well over 100, and could have done. I mean, Bazball we all love, mostly, but it does kick them in the teeth occasionally.
Neil, we're always having a debate about overplaying in sport. Has it become an issue in cricket? Obviously, the loss of Ben Stokes, maybe he sort of overbowled himself, but no Mark Wood, Ollie Stone. Obviously, Woakes' injury was during the test. But you look at India as well, with Pantan Kumar Reddy. And Bumrah, I think, has only played in 3 of the 5. Is it an issue?
It's a huge issue, absolutely. Physical collateral damage, and the attrition rate in a 5-test series has always been a factor through history. But this is the most concertinaed 5-test series that England have ever had. I mean, you're playing 5 tests in 42 days, and only 3 days between games. There isn't time for the body to recover. If anybody that's played cricket knows that it's not the sedate pastime that sometimes we make it out to be, and bowling fast takes a massive toll on the bodies. But we can discuss that, we can debate it, but nothing's going to change. Cricket administrators know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. They're not, we've put August aside for the 100. You've got to squeeze this Test match into a unacceptably short period of time, and that means that we won't have the stars. We won't be able to see the best players, and if we do, they won't be at their best. As you say, Ben Stokes isn't here, Jasprit Bumrah's not here, 2 of the big names. So it's unfortunate, but it's life, isn't it?
But Neil, you're blaming the cricket administrators, but the cricketers themselves want this because they want to play in the 100. They want to play 1 days where it gives them a lot of money, and the only way to get a lot of money is to play more cricket. So they wouldn't want to cut back on the fixture list because they want to find all different ways of earning cash.
Which cricketers have you been talking to?
Well, there's a lot who play in the 100, isn't there? The 100 is something which pays good money, doesn't it? The IPL pays good money. And if some of our players can play in the IPL, they'll snap their hands off, won't they, if they get a big offer to do so?
Used to. I think that used to be the case.
Okay.
And remember that the 100 and the IPL only pays really big money to a small percentage of players. It's like golf. You look at prize money in golf and you see these guys winning millions of dollars, but look at them, half the field missed the cut. And cricket's not quite the same, but we focus on the high brackets, and the top 3 or 4 or maybe even half dozen in the 100 are doing very, very well. But the cricketers have to be careful. Of course, they need to maximise their earning potential, but the fixture list is very, very squeezed, and the PCA, the Professional Cricketers Association, are talking all the time. They represent the players, and they say that there is too much cricket, and that if you want quality and safety and value for money, then there should be a little bit less and a few more days to recover.
Would the PCA ever go as far as is happening in football with FIFPro, the sort of global players' union, of actually taking legal action against the authorities?
It's been spoken about, yeah, sure. I mean, are we talking international cricket or domestic cricket? I mean, the issue in the blast, for example, is that, you know, players are having to travel, motorway travel, literally drive themselves through the night, you know, from fixtures through fixtures, and they've expressed concern about player safety, and heaven forbid we ever get to the situation where the authorities are sued for physical injuries or worse. Hopefully the administrators will kind of sit back and listen. And, you know, I mean, the England Test players would prefer to have more rest. They're quite public about that. You know, it's not. They do get paid very good match fees, but then you need to be fit to play to get your match fees, and they are, I think, being pushed rather than pushing themselves too hard.
Neil, just on a more positive note, I mean, I've only been to one of the tests to Lords as a punter, but just watching it on the television and listening to you on the radio, it has been it's just been an extraordinary series. Obviously, there's been a bit of edge to it. There've been some remarkable performances individually with bat and ball, but hasn't it actually showed how good Test cricket is?
Absolutely, yes, completely. It's been a fabulous advertisement for the game, and, you know, so has baseball for the last 3 years. It has been frustrating, as I said. You know, England could have just played a little bit more like grown-ups in the first innings, and we wouldn't be facing this likely loss today on the fourth day. But the product is absolutely magnificent. It has been revitalised. I know that followers of the game in other countries get frustrated about the perceived arrogance of the England team, and when they say that you know, results don't matter, more that we're here to entertain and all of that kind of thing. But it has been absolutely brilliant. Sold out crowds. The game is in terrific health in this country and in India and Australia, and, you know, we need the World Test Championship for it to stay alive and to thrive in other countries. But it's brilliant. I mean, the Oval is a magnificent way to end the series, and hopefully we're in for an appropriate climax. I mean, if England win, it will be one of their great Test match wins and series wins.
And of course, we'll still be looking forward to the Ashes, and with bowlers dropping like flies, don't laugh me out of court on this one, but I did read somewhere this morning somebody suggesting, could Jimmy Anderson go to the Ashes? He's still playing, he's a quality bowler. Some of the certainly one bowler we've got in this Test match couldn't tie his bootlaces. Any chance?
I suppose there's always a chance, but
well, what if he goes as a bowling coach and a backup?
Yeah, I know. I haven't read that. I mean,
I probably read it on social media somewhere or something like that, but it was being floated as a possibility because so many bowlers are injured.
Yes, exactly. I know. Exactly. I mean, I was just, you know, there have been quite strategic moves through history of players going and finding themselves a club when England have been on tour. You know, that go and play some club cricket in New Zealand, which is right next to Australia, of course. And yeah, I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility, I suppose. I mean, if Jimmy was there and he was playing some great cricket in Australia or even some first-class cricket in New Zealand, and there was a rash of injuries, I mean, I think England are going to take 8 fast bowlers. I think they're going to name a squad of 18. That's just what the attrition rate is. So I wouldn't waste even a pound on it if it was a bet, if you offered me the bet. But I don't think so. I think Jimmy's moved on now, and I think England have moved on from him.
Neil, you've seen a lot in your career in cricket. Have you ever seen an incident where one of the spectators had to put a Surrey top on because he had a red shirt which was over the bowler's arm, I assume, and was distracting the batsman? I mean, it was hilarious just to watch for about sort of 3-4 minutes. But does that happen often?
Some batsmen can be distracted in their peripheral vision by a butterfly 150 yards away. I mean, and the thing about the Oval is that the sight screen at the pavilion end is unusual because it only protects the delivery point. So people, the members of the crowd, as you saw yesterday, sit in front of the sight screen but below it. It's a very, very limited sight screen, and Jadeja was the batsman, and he walked up to the umpire and he was really apologetic, and he said, I'm sorry, but there's a guy sitting there with a bright red shirt and it's really catching my eye. I was on commentary at the time and I was trying to work out what was going on, and then I saw that the guy was really standing out, and then the steward went to him. The umpire radioed the third umpire, explained the problem. The steward went to the gentleman and said, would you mind moving? To which he adopted that very aggressive, protective poise and crossed his arms around his chest, shook his head vigorously and said, no, mate, I paid 140 quid for this. So the solution was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The steward reappeared about a minute later with a grey plain Surrey shirt, which he put on and got to keep. I've seen lots and lots of incidences of players being distracted and sight screens being moved and inadequate, but nothing quite like that. It was a really, really humorous moment.
All part of a very eventful series. Neil Manthor, talkSPORT's cricket commentator. Enjoy the day, we certainly will. And a reminder that overseas listeners can hear ball-by-ball commentary on the final day of the fourth test between England and India on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. I say the final day, it's day 4 actually. I don't think we'll get into day 5, but you never know. This is Sunday Edition on talkSPORT with Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. Next up, rugby and the end of the Lions tour.
are then. We're up and running, and Nick White gets the third and final test of the British and Irish Lions Series 2025 underway. Right, gives to Dylan Peach, and Dylan Peach scores in the left corner.
The Lions are on the rack, and they are real struggling.
It's a Lions tour that's pretty much had everything, has it? And now we've got play suspended due to a lightning strike. Tate McDermott will score, and that is it. Cherry on top of icing, on top of cake. I cannot see how the British and Irish Lions come back from this one. Game over. Series over. Well, the Lions are beaten in Sydney, but in a way it mattered not, because they already had the trophy done and dusted. It might be disappointment on the night, it's certainly not on the series. British and Irish Lions win the series 2-1.
Yeah, the line 22-12 on Australia in Sydney. Australia bringing back a bit of pride, but after the game, Andy Farrell, the Lions coach, spoke to the media and suggested he felt it was a great achievement to win Down Under.
Well, I suppose the legacies for us is in that changing room, the togetherness of not just the players but the whole group has been an absolute delight to work with. We've played some outstanding rugby over the last 6 to 8 weeks, and that's accumulated into a performance that last week that was unbelievably special moment for all of us, and it will stay with us forever.
Right, now we're joined by talkSPORT rugby commentator Andrew McKenna, who's had a very long stint out there. For the last time with us, Andrew, how are you?
I'm very well, boys. How are we doing this morning?
Yes, very good. Now, I know this seems unfair, but looking at the celebrations yesterday in the rain, I couldn't help feeling it was a bit weird, a bit flat. I know the Lions were trying to jump around and look really excited about winning the series, and we've got Andy Farrell saying it's a great achievement, and that it just didn't feel like one.
It's always that issue, isn't it, of losing a game when you've actually already won the tournament, if you like. It's a bit like, I don't know, maybe Novak Djokovic winning a tennis match 3-1, and maybe that losing that one set takes a bit of edge off it. I don't know. But yeah, it was already in the bag. Now, and maybe that's why they spoke so much about winning 3-0, because that was then the internal driver to drive it on, to be a side that goes on and wins 3-0. For the first time in the thick end of 100 years that they've actually done that. So that they used that. But simply, on the day, the Wallabies were so much better than them. They played the conditions better. They used that half an hour delay for the Lightning better than the Lions, because it gave some of their players who were maybe running out of gas just a bit more chance to recover. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. They tried to get enthusiastic and bounce around, but you know what elite sportsmen are like. They don't like losing anything, let alone a test match in their sport. So, yeah, it was a bit of a hard sell for some.
Andrew, I've just got to pause you there a second, because I've got to get the team news from our talkSPORT 2 live game. Stockport v Bolton, that's with Cameron Pope.
Thanks, guys. We're on the banks of the River Mersey for this one. Stockport County beaten here last season in the League One playoff semi-finals. And for the visits of Bolton, they named 3 new signings in their first 11 of the campaign. Club record signing Malik Mothersill goes straight into the attack. Corey O'Keefe and Owen Dodgson start as fullbacks. Bolton's late season dip saw their own promotion aspirations fade into an 8th place finish. 5 debutants in their team, the line led by Hull loanee Mason Burstow. They've also recruited midfielder Xavier Simons from the Tigers. Owen Toll is the new captain for Stephen Schumacher's first full season in charge. Live commentary on talkSPORT 2 from Mickey Gray and I. A midday kickoff, Stockport versus Bolton.
Thank you. Back to rugby union now, and Andrew McKenna's still there. Andrew, Gaz in Wrexham has texted to say, why is no one calling this Lions tour for what it is? It's a failure. We should have wiped the floor with Australia, but fell absolutely flat in all the test. The Lions format is dead in the modern game.
Well, I'll deal with the last part first.
Yeah.
There's no way it's dead. We've just had a series that over 400,000 people have come through the gates in Australia to watch. That tells you all you need to know. And in fact, the MCG test match, the second test, had more people in the stadium watching than the last Football World Cup final. So there's no way that it's dead. Now, it might be that an awful lot of those people had travelled out from Britain and Ireland to be a part of that, but that doesn't matter. People are buying tickets. People still want to be a part of this. Should the Lions have put the Wallabies to the sword? Potentially, but the Wallabies deliberately went into the first test a bit undercooked. We're seeing this as the pinnacle of this period of rugby for the Lions. It's then their players going off in the summer. But it's actually the start of the Wallabies season. They've got another 12 games to come this calendar year. And in fact, in 2 weeks' time, they will be playing a test match in South Africa. Next weekend, they're on the plane to Johannesburg to take on the world champions as the Rugby Championship starts. So what they did was deliberately go in a little bit undercooked. They had only one warm-up game against Fiji to get themselves ready, because they said, we can't put the players through that many games in a single season. And what we saw was they got better and better and better throughout the series. So I'm not buying that, I'm afraid. Everyone bought into the narrative that Australia were going to be terrible. They were going to be wiped off of the Lions calendar with their performances. Yeah, they had a bad World Cup 18 months ago, but they are improving massively.
But Andrew, surely it shows that the Lions and the whole concept of the Lions is absolutely strong when you've got, 30,000 Brits travelling out. I mean, you couldn't get a flight. I mean, tickets are obviously, maybe apart from the second one where there were one or two sort of empty seats. But the fact that 30,000 travelling fans just shows extraordinary support for the whole Lions concept. Obviously, it's a brilliant place to go and travel, although maybe not that time of year. But it is absolutely remarkable. So I would have thought if one thing's definitely come out of this series is how powerful the Lions are and the brand is.
Absolutely. Ben Calverley, the chief exec, actually did the final press conference of the tour earlier today, and he was saying exactly that. When you look at these kind of numbers, you don't change this. You don't try and fix this because it ain't broken. Now, maybe one thing that did happen was 4 years ago when they went to South Africa, of course, it was COVID. So fans weren't allowed to go then. And I know an awful lot of people said, right, the money that I've earmarked for that trip is going in a high interest account for 4 years, so I can then go and have a really good time in Australia. And I'm pretty sure that that's happened. But there'll be another 30,000 in 4 years' time heading to New Zealand, because that is one of the meccas of Lions Tour and New Zealand Tour. So, yeah, there is no doubt it continues. There might be a few tweaks. There might be a few little bits and pieces here and there. We saw them play Argentina in Dublin before they headed out to Australia. I can see more and more games like that happening in future. But the Lions Tour is 100% here to stay. And one thing I would say to you, Henry, is these tours, the Lions, Ben Calverley told me in Portugal at a training camp, 2 months ago, his first conversation with Rugby Australia about this tour happened in February of 2019. It is 6 years in the planning. So in other words, they've virtually almost put New Zealand to bed in 4 years' time, and they're already working on South Africa to follow 4 years after that. So if there is going to be change, it's not going to be in the next 5 minutes or so, because it takes so much planning to get all of this done. So I hope you still hear me, because it's just the heavens have absolutely opened, exactly the same as it did in the stadium last night. It's been hammering down here in Australia, in Sydney, the last 2 or 3 days. And to give you an idea, actually, boys, they actually had a record amount of snow in the northern parts of New South Wales yesterday. It's gone full proper crazy.
So it could have been a whitewash. Just very quickly, I imagine there's a fair bit of triumphalism in the Australian media after yesterday's game. But has Schmidt escaped much criticism? Because you used the word rightly, they went into a bit undercooked. I mean, they only had, one warm-up game against Fiji?
Yeah, exactly. He's not escaped criticism from talkSPORT's very own David Campese, but I think generally speaking, people can see where he's going. And then you've got people like Eddie Jones, who's been working with us here in talkSPORT. Obviously, in Aussie, he gets quoted back here an awful lot. The people that matter, if you like, power brokers in Australian rugby, are all saying we can see the direction of travel. So things are improving. So I think, Joe, as long as they have a good rugby championship over the next few weeks, I think people will go, fair enough, you were undercooked, but we can see the direction of travel.
Andrew McKenna, sterling stuff. You've done a brilliant job for us. We've loved having you on the show every Sunday. Enjoy that pint. Get yourself out the rain. Have a good journey back. Andrew McKenna, talkSPORT's rugby expert. Thank you. This is Sunday edition on talkSPORT. And next up, what on earth is going on at Sheffield Wednesday?
Everyone knows there are 20 managers in the Premier League, yeah? Well, actually no. Around 3/4 of them are not managers. The terms manager and head coach are often used interchangeably to describe Premier League bosses, but they're actually two different jobs. So let's explain how and why. For years, fans referred to Mikel Arteta as Arsenal's manager, but I'm afraid technically...
No, I don't think so, no.
From his first day on the job, he was the Gunners' head coach. Let's pick a random moment in time, February 2025. Only 6 Premier League bosses actually held the official title of manager rather than head coach. Man City's Pep Guardiola, David Moyes of Everton, Ipswich boss Kieran McKenna, Southampton's Ivan Juric, Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace and Leicester's Ruud van Nistelrooy were the only actual managers of their respective teams. Everyone else? That's right, head coach, including Ruben Amorim at Man United. He took over from Erik ten Hag, a man who had held the title of manager. Might come as a surprise that Amorim's appointment marked the first time ever that Man United had a head coach instead of a manager. But to understand why they made that decision, you also have to get what the difference is between a head coach and a manager. A manager's got a huge range of responsibilities. They're not just in charge of training and player lineups, they're also heavily involved in player sales and transfers. Critical stuff. But a head coach's role is far more focused on team training and performance on the pitch. So whereas Ten Hag was highly involved with decisions around transfers during his tenure, the intention was that Amorim wouldn't be, at least not on the same level. And as the sporting structure at Man United changed under Sir Jim Ratcliffe, people like Sir Dave Brailsford took charge of transfers instead. How all those roles play out in practice may be slightly different at different clubs though. On the other hand, the contracts of actual managers like Pep or Moyes had no limits on their job role and their involvement with transfers and contracts. But those guys are actually in the minority now, and it's a change that's happened pretty quickly. In 2019, there were only 6 head coaches in the Premier League, but by 2025 there were 14. A clear indication that more and more clubs are moving towards a model where the guy in charge is actually only really in charge on the pitch. And the way things are going, it might not be long before all 20 clubs have got head coaches, and the job position of football manager in the top flight is no more.
Another hour to go of action-packed Sunday edition with myself, Shaun, Custis and Henry Winter. And in a quarter of an hour, we'll be joined by our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, who'll be bringing us some very interesting news about the future of Southampton's Tyler Dibbling and where he could be heading, so stay tuned for that. From 8 p.m. tonight, you'll be able to hear the next episode of After the Lights Go Out on talkSPORT, when Steve Harmison and Leon McKenzie are in conversation with the former Sunderland and Cardiff City striker Michael Chopra. The interview centres around a serious gambling addiction which affected Michael throughout much of his football career. Here he explains how Roy Keane handled the situation when he signed for Sunderland in 2007.
My agent said to me, you need to go and speak to Roy, because if this starts affecting your performance at Sunderland, it's going to be damaging for you, and Roy won't be having any of it. So I spoke to Roy, and Roy was brilliant, really, really good. Took me in his office straight away, totally understand the situation. He literally called up Sport and Chance Clinic while I was there in the office to try and get me the help I needed. Roy phoned Sport and Chance was fully booked, but they mentioned another place, which was the Capio Nightingale Hospital, which is next to the Landmark Hotel. So Roy straight away said to me, you're going to go in there next week. And I was like, well, what about football? I want to play football, Roy, and that sort of thing. He went, listen, you need to get the help.
And a reminder, you can hear the full interview with Michael Chopra in After the Lights Go Out tonight from 8 p.m. And all the episodes from the current series of the programme are available now from all podcast providers, including those featuring Carl Frampton, James Haskell and Leon Sanderson. Now, it's time to talk about crisis at Sheffield Wednesday. We've already heard on this programme in recent weeks about clubs like Morecambe, who actually are in very grave danger of going out of business. Is it possible that Sheffield Wednesday, one of our most famous old clubs, could be going the same way? James Silverwood of the Sheffield Wednesday Trust joins us now to explain the latest. James, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
So, James, how deep is the crisis at Sheffield Wednesday and can it be solved?
Well, everything can always be solved. The immediate solution is that the current owner, Dave Chansiri, sells the club. There are credible offers on the table. The problem at Sheffield Wednesday has not been a lack of willing and credible buyers. It's the lack of a credible seller. And that's been the story of the summer, really. And the failure of Dave Chansiri to sell Sheffield Wednesday Football Club is why it's in the crisis it's in at this moment in time.
James, Barry Bannon yesterday with that sort of announcement and then that remarkable quote, which obviously was all over social media, and your trust thanked him for his loyalty. But that quote, that his daughter cried when he said he might be leaving Sheffield Wednesday, and his daughter, I assume this is Elsie, cried when he said he might be staying. And they were happy tears, as she described them. It shows, A, the loyalty of Barry Bannon, but also the emotions that a club like yours, this historic club, as Shaun rightly points out, evokes in fans. And this is what's happening to you, and what Dejan Chansiri is inflicting on you is basically an assault on a community.
Yeah, 100%. And let me give you a couple of indications of that. So at the Supporters Trust, we're getting some quite harrowing emails actually about the impact on people's mental and physical health that the stress of what's happening at Sheffield Wednesday is inflicting upon them. And it's incredibly difficult to receive those emails, and it's difficult to hear the people in such pain. To give you other indications of how it affects people, obviously it's not about me, but my son is 4 years old, and he's wanting to start to come to his first game, and I can't possibly take him to Hillsborough in this current situation. The atmosphere would be not suitable for a child of that age, so it's destroying those things that make football beautiful and wonderful, those memories. A friend of mine also who helps the trust, his son is a little bit older than mine, and his son thinks football is about blowing up yellow and black protest balloons, and he says to his dad regularly, has he sold the club yet? Has he sold the club yet? It's affecting people's lives in quite dramatic ways, and it needs to stop. It needs to come to an end now. The damage being inflicted upon the community of Sheffield is just too much, and it should never be allowed to happen.
James, I had a text here from Christine, who says she's been a Sheffield Wednesday fan since 1974, and that alarm bells should have been ringing loud and clear at Sheffield Wednesday when in December I renewed my season ticket and it was cash only. Well dodgy, she says. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there was a stage where the club were only accepting cash for season tickets, and actually, I think you said the person who texted in was Christine. So Christine, you'll also know this well, that one of the things that Sheffield Wednesday has done for years, which is another alarm bell ringing scenario, is that it's kept selling its season tickets earlier and earlier. There was one season where for the following season they actually sold them as early as December, pre-Christmas, which just goes to show that Sheffield Wednesday has been in a cash flow crisis for many, many years. It's obvious now that the cash flow problems are obvious this summer, but actually this crisis at Sheffield Wednesday has been building for many, many years.
Chansiri comes from a wealthy family. Why has it come to this?
So the direct answer is that we can't be sure and we don't know. We published alongside members of Parliament for the City of Sheffield and Lord Blunkett, David Blunkett in the House of Lords, an open letter yesterday to the English Football League. Sorry, it was Friday evening, which asked for answers to a series of questions about how Dave Chansiri has been funding Sheffield Wednesday Football Club in the past, why that funding is no longer available, and also some questions around whether the way that it's alleged that he's been funding has implications for the ownership, control or influence that third parties may have over the club, and whether that influence of third parties is a reason why he is currently not selling. And that was an open letter to the English Football League, because they are still, until the independent football regulator comes out, the regulator for football. But it was an open letter precisely because we need people in other positions of authority and power, whether they be legal or regulatory, to start helping us out and looking into these as well. We are a volunteer organisation. We've all got families and professional jobs. There's only so much we can do to investigate these matters. And we're asking for help. You know, we're a proud people in Sheffield. We're not asking for a handout. We're asking for help. So contact us if you are in one of those positions of power. We'll show you what we've researched and what information we've got, and maybe you can help us, because today it's Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, but tomorrow it could be your club and it might be you needing help as well.
A lot of these owners are fairly faceless, operating behind the way they operate behind the scenes. Have you ever had a chance to meet him or discuss the situation at Wednesday?
Yes, so I was one of the early founder members of the trust, and I was chair for the opening couple of years or so. I did meet Dave Chansiri 3 times in, I think it was 2021. I've got to say, the unfortunate reality was, and this seems to be the same story for absolutely everybody who's ever met him, is that those meetings and the attempt to engage him in dialogue was unfortunately absolutely pointless. He's a person who seems to have no desire or will to listen to any outside or external advice. And unfortunately, those conversations went absolutely nowhere, which is a shame, because I know I'm not the only person who's tried. I know the trust is not the only person who's tried. Ex-players have tried. Ex-chairmen at Sheffield Wednesday Football Club have tried to speak to him. People throughout the game have tried to reason with Dave Chansiri, and everybody gives the same story, that it's an impossible thing to do, unfortunately, and that is why Sheffield Wednesday is where it is in the summer of 2025.
What are the chances of you starting the season, and presumably that will focus EFL minds?
Well, you would hope so. We had a meeting with the English Football League a few days ago. The minutes have recently been, I think, published or are close to be. They've certainly been agreed. The EFL concern really is to get us to fulfil our fixtures. The unfortunate reality is that Sheffield Wednesday are really close, I think, to being unable to fulfil our fixtures. There is conversations between players around whether there is a need to go on strike because of perennial late payments or of wages. During the summer, it's not just been playing staff. I appreciate some of your listeners might have limited sympathy for late payments to people who are on thousands of pounds a week, but it's also been late payments or short payments, i.e. only partial payments of monthly wages to our non-playing staff as well. And that has another massive effect on our community, because it's mortgage payments missed, it's food not on the table. So the crisis at Sheffield Wednesday is huge.
James Silverwood, we wish you all the best and hope very much that Sheffield Wednesday get to start the season. Good luck with your quest, James. That was James Silverwood of the Sheffield Wednesday Trust, one of our greatest old clubs, Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, I know when we were talking about Morecambe, that was clearly... Sheffield Wednesday is like an institution.
Yeah, founder members. I mean, you know, they're absolute historic club. I was just thinking, it seemed like only yesterday, 1993, you know, that awesome cup team they had. Yeah, I mean, it was just remarkable. But you look what they're going through. Wages delayed for the players, issues with the North Stand, transfer embargo, only 15 senior players, a good manager gone, friendly against Burnley cancelled. It's a disgrace, and the Football Association should be good. The Football Association is supposedly guardians of the game, and if this isn't demanding a guardian to step in and help any club, let alone such a historic club, well, thank heavens the independent football regulator is coming in as the fans' friend. Yeah, I know you may laugh, but actually, this is a point.
Right, okay.
You've been listening to the last 10 minutes. This is the reason why we need a regulator.
Next up, we'll get the latest transfer news from our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, and it's interesting news about Southampton's Tyler Dibbling. Yeah, Alex Crook will join us in a minute here on Sunday Edition for some hot transfer news. But first, it's time for an update in the cricket. Day 4, the 5th Test, England v India, with Sam Ellard.
England 59 for 1, needing 374 to win the 5th Test and secure a series victory. It'd be their second highest chase and a record at the Oval. Final ball of the day yesterday, Mohammad Siraj bowled Zach Crawley. So far this morning, no wickets, but India well and truly on top. Mohammad Siraj bowling here, a brilliant over to Ben Duckett, beating him a couple of times on the outside edge. So Duckett's got 38, Pope's got 5. Crawley, the only wicket to fall, bowled by Siraj late last night. The target 374. It's probably going to be the final day of the series. It's been a captivating series. England 2-1 up. Will they win 3-1 or draw 2-2? Should be a belter of a day. England 59 for 1.
Thank you, Sam. Now then, transfer talk. We're joined by Alex Crook, talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, with some hot transfer news. Morning, Alex.
Good morning. How are we?
Very good. So, Tyler Dibbling, tell us all about him.
Yeah, Tyler Dibbling didn't play in Southampton's main pre-season game yesterday against Brighton, but he did play in a behind closed doors match between the two teams, an hour-long game earlier in the day. We know that Everton have had one offer of £27 million plus add-ons rejected. I was told yesterday Southampton are expecting an improved bid from the Toffees. I think David Moyes has come out and said that Dibbling is just the type of profile of player that really he is looking to get through the door at Goodison Park. Southampton are holding out for an excess of £40 million. Now, he's a very talented teenager, Tyler Dibbling. Hasn't played that many games in the Premier League, so it'll be interesting to see how close Everton get to that valuation. I spoke to Will Steele after the game and asked if he could give any guarantees that Dibbling would still be a Southampton player come September. He said he couldn't, but did say that Tyler hasn't been affected by the speculation and he's just knuckling down.
And what about Mr. Wisser at Brentford? A bit more news on him.
Yeah, this is one of a number of sagas that we've been covering this summer. We know that Newcastle have had one bid rejected. They've indicated to Brentford they're willing to make a second offer in excess of £30 million. The message they got then was that Wisser was not for sale. Obviously, they've already cashed in on Brian Mbeumo. Brentford, I know Keith Andrews, the rookie manager there, is reluctant to lose both of his top scorers from last season. Wisser reacted angrily to that, claims that he had personal assurances this time last year that if a certain figure was hit, he would be allowed to leave. He's been at the training ground, but he's been refusing to train with his teammates out of protest. And it just seems in the last 48 hours or so that Brentford's stance maybe is softening. Newcastle still very keen. I think in an ideal world, if they're to even contemplate selling Alexander Isak, not only would they like to sign Johan Wisser, but a higher profile forward in the Benjamin Šeško ilk as well.
We're not contemplating selling Alexander Isak unless we're forced to with a bid of 150 million. We've been debating it all morning. I get the feeling this one could run to the end of the transfer window. Do you?
Well, I certainly don't believe the stories from the end of last week that Liverpool had walked away completely from the Alexander Isak deal. I don't see why you would go so far down the road as to make a bid that I'm told was there or thereabouts in terms of a British record fee, so a similar type of figure with the add-ons to what they've already paid for Florian Wirtz, to have one offer rejected and then walk away completely. What I don't think Liverpool want to do is get into a cycle of having a number of offers rejected. So I do think they're going to need some encouragement from Newcastle now that actually they are willing to entertain offers. Isak has been training back at Real Sociedad, one of his former clubs, away from the Newcastle training ground, but there is an expectation that he returns to Newcastle next week when the team get back from Singapore. So yeah, I think you're right, Shaun. I think this one will run and run. What we do know is pretty clear. Personal terms will already have been discussed and probably put in place, and Isak wants to make this move to join the champions. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Crookie, just calling on all your wisdom here, if Chelsea's interest in Xavi Simons goes through and they pay RB Leipzig whatever the fee is, around 50 million, does that affect in any way the Šeško position at RB Leipzig?
Well, I think it empowers them financially, and I think they are going to drive a hard bargain. It was always anticipated that their asking price for Šeško would be around the £70 million mark. Newcastle have hit that, albeit 65 million up front with add-ons, and obviously Leipzig are looking for a bigger guaranteed amount, I think, so talks will continue. But what they want, RB Leipzig, and there's no question about this, is they want a bidding war between Newcastle and Manchester United. Various sources are telling me that in an ideal world, Šeško's preferred destination would be Old Trafford. But I think Newcastle financially are in a stronger position than United, with United needing to sell players probably to finance this deal. But that's why Leipzig, I think, have knocked back the initial offer, because they're hoping that a rival bid comes in from Old Trafford. And indeed, I'm told that talks did take place last night between Manchester United and the German club.
Look, Manchester United are a huge club, the biggest in the country. Ruben Amorim is changing things around there. They've brought in some good players already. But Newcastle United are in the Champions League.
They are, and I get the argument.
Careful.
I get the argument that at this moment in time, Newcastle could be a more attractive proposition. Obviously won their first trophy in a number of decades last season. I think they have one of the best managers in the country in Eddie Howe, certainly the best English manager for my money. And obviously you've got that vociferous crowd at St James's Park. But we have seen already this summer that despite the fact they're at their lowest ebb since the 1970s, Manchester United, they are still a draw for players. Brian Mbeumo spoke to Newcastle and made it clear that Manchester United was the only club for him. Matheus Cunha wasn't fussed about the fact he's not playing Champions League football. So I think in terms of global appeal, Benjamin Šeško would have grown up dreaming of playing for Manchester United as opposed to pulling on the black and white of Newcastle.
Yeah, well, interesting reaction from Shaun on that one. Just on your beloved bomb squad at Manchester United, where are we with Garnacho? Is he because whenever Ruben Amorim talks, he almost sort of devalues the value of these players. You see what I mean? Is Garnacho a runner, as it were, for Chelsea?
Yeah, that's been a bugbear of our own Simon Jordan and various ex-managers, actually, when we've had them on talkSPORT, saying that you can't come out and publicly hammer your players if you're trying to sell them, because obviously clubs are not going to pay top dollar. There is still interest from Chelsea. My understanding is that even if they sign Xavi Simons, Garnacho remains a realistic target. There have been talks with Aston Villa as well, with Unai Emery obviously needing to replenish the squad, having lost a couple of those loan players who came in and did so well last season. So I do think Garnacho will go, but I think he'll end up going for a lot less than the £50-60 million that Manchester United were asking for in January.
Now, Rasmus Højlund was quite excited about the fact he scored 2 goals in the week. He was giving it the "who wants to talk to me" to the reporters who were out there. And I think he was hopeful of sticking around to either play as a 2 up front or be certainly an impact substitute at United. But there is no doubt there's been a little bit of briefing going on, because the stories are everywhere this morning that he's available for £30 million.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious when a player comes out and stops in the mix zone and says, "Who wants to speak to me?" That he's got a message to put across. Mo Salah did that, didn't he? After Liverpool had played at Southampton, to bemoan the fact he hadn't been offered a contract, even though talks were ongoing in the background. Listen, I feel for Rasmus Højlund, because he has the will and the determination to succeed at Manchester United, but I'm just not sure he's got the raw quality. He's been talking about the fact he's only 22, and he said himself, not everybody can be like Erling Haaland at 22 and banging hundreds of goals every season. I think Ruben Amorim realises that United need an upgrade in the number 9 department. He was really concerned about the lack of goals at the end of last season. So you're right, £30 million is the asking price, even though that would be a deficit on the balance sheet, so it wouldn't help with the PSR. I think really they need to sell him for £40 million to stay on the right side of that particular line. I know his name has come up in conversations with Leipzig, maybe a potential swap deal. Leipzig would be keen on that, but I don't think Rasmus Højlund is keen to make that move, and I think he'll probably try and dig his heels in and fight for his place at Manchester United. Let's be honest, he's not going to get a club of this stature, and probably even a pay packet of this stature, if he leaves.
Crookie, looking at the number 10s at Manchester United, I mean, my maths is terrible, but 4 into 2 doesn't go. You've got Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Cunha and Mbeumo. The obvious, Bruno has to play there, and then you're juggling sort of Cunha and Mbeumo. I don't buy the argument of Bruno Fernandes deeper. Where does this leave Mason Mount?
I think it's a really good question, Henry, because I think he is the odd man out of those 4 that you've talked about, certainly in terms of a number 10 position. I wonder, and you've seen a lot of him playing for England and Chelsea, obviously, maybe is he a more intelligent footballer in terms of dropping into that deep role and almost recreate himself so that he can play alongside the likes of Kobe Mainoo and Manuel Ugarte, because I agree with you, Bruno Fernandes as a deep line midfielder is a disaster class for Manchester United.
Nope, don't think that's going to work. Alex Crook, talkSPORT's chief football correspondent, thank you very much. This is Sunday edition on talkSPORT. Peterborough chairman Darren McAnthony is coming next. The EFL is underway. League One and League Two have kicked off this weekend. We're just focusing now on the fact Peterborough lost 2-1 to Cardiff yesterday. I'm delighted to say we're joined by Peterborough boss, owner, Darragh McAnthony. Darragh, good morning.
Good morning, Shaun, Henry. How are you guys doing? All good?
Very well. How are you feeling after that loss? Did you see some positive signs, or was it cause for concern?
No, I think when Barry always says to me, pay no attention to pre-season or the first couple of games of any season. And every season we've ever won promotion, I think we've had a very slow start because, you look at August. August is like, it's one of those months there's a lot of moving pieces. You're finding your feet, you're getting fit. You've got injuries to deal with. There's still a couple of pieces left to do. There was no concern for us yesterday. We're a very young team. Cardiff were a very young team. If anything, it was a real prediction of the way things are going now lower down in the EFL, where, football clubs are going a lot younger, trusting their academy players. They had teenagers playing, we had teenagers playing. I think we were 22.5 was our age, and they were 22. So it was a decent enough game. I'd like for us to have been a bit more attacking, because that's our identity, that's our style. And probably a few of our better players from previous good campaigns didn't really show up on the day, whether that's day one of the new season. And a big thing we lost this week, and it was a real body blow, and we had a lot of this last year, so I want it done and dusted, is we spent over 400 grand on a new goalkeeper. First time in a decade we've done that. And he went down 5 days before the season started. He's out for 6 weeks. And then our captain, who we signed from Stockport, who was tremendous in the second half of last season, he tore a hole in his Achilles 3 days ago. And he's out for 3 months. So when you look at from the back, the spine, him, the captain, and he plays left side of the fence. And as you know, that's such an important area of the team for balance. So that was a real kick in the cojones, as they say. But nobody died. You got to get on with it. Everyone's going to lose players and have injuries. And it's just not ideal in the final week after you've gone through the whole of pre-season with no injuries. That happens, leading up to your first game.
Yeah, but I suppose, as you say, nobody died. You have a great football club that you run brilliantly. You're investing in younger players, but we've been hearing a lot this morning about Sheffield Wednesday, a famous old club, their problems that they're having. We know Morecambe are having their problems in the National League. I mean, overall, football-wise, at EFL level and maybe National League level, are you concerned for its future?
I'm not concerned for its future because I think our product's unbelievable. I think the pyramid is like nothing else around the world. I think America missed a big beat not having their own pyramid, and it would enhance their MLS and everything going on stateside. And I'm now an American citizen, so I can speak as an American owner. So I look at it and go, if the year's 2025, and the fact things like Morecambe and Sheffield Wednesday to a certain extent are still happening is ridiculous. Shouldn't be happening. You'd like to have seen Bury being the last of those things that happened in recent years. So I am concerned for Morecambe because they're now in non-league, and it's a lot more perilous down there than, say, being a championship club like Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday will get sold eventually. Somebody will buy that giant of a club. They will come again. We've seen clubs over the years, you could use Bolton, we're playing today as an example, who've dropped down the leagues, had financial issues, and then within a few years, they're suddenly back on that carousel on the way up again. Sheffield Wednesday will be one of those clubs. I can't speak for their owner. I don't know him. I don't like criticising owners without knowing facts. But I don't like when you see the things that are going on there. And I'm quite close to a couple of the players. Josh Windass is a friend of mine. He was telling me a lot of the things going on during the off season and when he reported back, and it makes no sense. So I don't know with the chaos that's going on at Wednesday what's going on, but they've got a tremendous fan base, tremendous historical club that will get sold to somebody with deep pockets, and they'll be in the Premier League within the next decade. Morecambe would be more of a focus of concern because of the lack of funds, because what's happened to Bury, what's happened to Macclesfield, other clubs like that over the years that you think if somebody doesn't come in and rescue that situation soon, they could completely fall out and they'll have to start again. And that can't happen. And, there's so much interest in people buying EFL clubs, non-league clubs, because of the Wrexham story, because of a lot of the media coverage on overseas owners. I am astonished nobody has gone in there and bought that club. Every day of the week I get people trying to buy Peterborough. I know other owners are the same in the EFL. There is no shortage of buyers for football clubs in the UK because of our wonderful pyramid and the romantic stories and, the Wrexham story recently. So fingers crossed for Morecambe. Not nice, and I'll say a prayer for them as they need it.
Dara, hi, it's Henry here.
Henry.
Hi. When you talk about sort of obviously the interest in buying these great historic and community family English clubs, I know there's a fit and proper test, owners and directors test, but can you 100% guard against someone who actually then turns out to be a bit of a rogue owner?
No, because look, and I'm going to defend the EFL here, which I don't always do, and I've had my own issues with the EFL and the way it's operated and run at times. And it's almost impossible. Like the guy who went into Sheffield Wednesday a few years ago, when he bought Sheffield Wednesday, he had deep pockets. But you have to understand politics, geopolitics around the world. All the people from China who bought football clubs had access to tremendous amount of funds. That well was open. Now, China's obviously a dictatorship. And when they decided to change the rules, and you saw that with football out in China when they were spending big money 10 years ago, a bit like Saudi nowadays, the minute they turned the tap off, that affects all the owners who are basically from China, because a lot of their wealth is controlled probably by the higher up. So I don't know about his situation. I don't know whether his money is outside of China or if it's in China. But I know he's a wealthy guy. His family are wealthy people. And there's no way that a guy like that wouldn't be paying his bills or paying his wages unless there were other issues there. So I think his biggest issue is transparency. I know he's been slated for talking to people, I think, on LinkedIn and whatever else. Look, I've always said to any owners, and I get a lot of new owners ringing me and asking, I should charge a consultancy fee, asking for 15, 20 minutes to talk them through ownership process and what's it like within the EFL and everything else. And I would always say to any new owner that comes in, and I said this to the Stockport owner recently, who's coming on my podcast, the Hard Truth podcast, and he's never done any press really. And I always said, be out there with the fans, like talk to them. You don't have to talk. You don't have to be a soundbite like me doing a podcast and being quite open and working occasionally for talkSPORT and Sky Sports and whatever else. But, come out and tell the truth. If you've got issues, tell your fans. Your fans can be quite sympathetic and they can be with you. If I own Sheffield Wednesday and I have problems, I come out and say, look, I've got an issue. I've got a few quid here. I can't get it out. So now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to play a trade to get us through this. I promise I'll pay the bills. I'll get us a squad. I'll make sure we're competitive. I'll do my best. I'll work my tail off you. And if all else fails, I'll try and sell the club. Come out and tell people that. Sit in front of fans groups and go through that process. Once you've done that, you earn a certain, leeway with your fan base if you're as honest as you can be. If you just are silent and ignore the issues and basically turn away from it and maybe insult fans or get in rows and go down that route, you're going to have a big issue. So, that's the reality. By the way, can you tell whoever's doing the thing on talkSPORT, they've misspelled my name. They pay me a fortune every time I come on talkSPORT and do that show with Jim and Simon. I can't believe whoever's about to lose their job has not spelled my name correctly. That's an outrage.
MACANTHONY, is it not?
Shocking. Must be the Sunday staff.
Yeah, well, it wasn't us. We're not guilty.
Dara, talking about things that need updating, not just that caption there, but your crest, and that is I know it's not going to be coming to force until June 2026, but does that show the sort of strength of your relationship with the fans, that when you did something, what fans are like, something like that, it's like sort of changing your surname or something. It's such a huge issue for fans, but actually it's been quite well received.
Yeah, it has. And look, you got the Twitterati, and the Twitterati, people pay a lot of attention to what's on Twitter. And as we know worldwide, whether it's sports, politics, Twitter is a small vacuum. It's not always the truth. And it's full of, you could say trolls, but it's opinions. When we did this a year ago, my brain trust came to me. And I'll talk about a brain trust. I run all the football side of the club. I am the owner. I make all the key decisions. But I have a terrific CEO, Dawn Gore. And next to her is Alex Harris, who's the best young commercial director in the Football League for the deals we do. And they came to me with Chris, who are part of my brain trust, and said, look, we want to do this. This is something we want to explore. We want to spend time doing it. Before you say no, because they know I'm a traditionalist, please hear us out. Let us explore it. Let us do groups. Let us do proper fan groups. Take it to the different groups, good and bad. Get all the opinions back, and we'll present to you the final product. You then say yes or no, and we will then put it to the fans. Basically, based on your opinion, you're going to go with it or you're not going to go with it. And I have to say, I trust those people implicitly. They've done an amazing job. Alex from the commercial perspective told me we have to do this for the 21st century. If we want to do branding deals, expand into the States, go down this route, we have to upgrade our logo, all our merchandise, our branding. We spent a lot of money on a mega store last year, over £1 million, at our club store. We have a lot of, product now that we have to sell. And this is something they were strong about. And I got on board with it. Loved it when it came out. I know not everyone's going to love it. Shaun's newspaper absolutely destroyed us with a comment on Twitter. But I think about 5 people follow that account on Twitter, to be fair. You know, making it out to be a circus. But it's
Life's
okay.
a debate.
I have no problem with that. So we're going fast and furious with it next year, and we're really excited about it.
Darragh, you've been talking about evolving the commercial department, evolving on the pitch and in the boardroom, and obviously the brand with the crest is evolving as well. Where are you with the stadium?
Where I am with the stadium, simple. I had a lot of issues from previous partnerships and ownerships that were involved with me. I had to solve, and I'm still paying back on that. I'm still trying to create a competitive squad for my manager to have. I'm still trying to have a great academy. Stadium's at the end of that, because the stadium's owned by a separate company, majority owned by previous partners, and it's owed money to the council. Our football club's fine. We have a long-term lease that can never be cancelled. We pay rent every year, has a covenant on the ground. My final thing on that, I'm coming through all the debt stuff. I'm starting to knock that off one by one. I'm starting to make sure we have a competitive squad. My final thing is going to be, I want the club itself to buy back the stadium from that company that's in administration, and the council as well. So I personally will be doing those deals. I personally will be making sure this time the club will own the stadium. The reason it was separated before is exactly for the reason when that company went into administration. I didn't want our club anything to do with that deal in case anything went wrong, because then it would be on the club and create a lot of issues. So I have a plan for that. Once we own our stadium, then we'll look at the plan for a new stadium, because we believe the city of Peterborough, with the population and the growth in that area, would have a fantastic new stadium, an all-purpose stadium for the city that would have 15 to 20,000 fans every home game with new facilities. So we've got long-term ideas on that, but I'm not going to talk about them now because it's all just talk, and talk is cheap.
Darragh McAnthony, Peterborough owner, very well put. Fantastic debate. Wish you well for the rest of the season. Your name will be spelt correctly next time out, I promise you. Hey, you want to try being a Custis? The amount of Curtises I get. So I sympathise, Darragh. Thank you very much. Cheers. There's been a wicket in the cricket with Sam Allard.
For India, they have their first wicket of the day, and it's the dangerous Ben Duckett. He got to 50 and then out for 54. Pradesh Krishna into the attack. A full ball. The Duckett looked to drive through the covers, took the outside edge. Really good take, a second slip by K.O. Ayol. So Pradesh Krishna strikes. Joe Root will now join Ollie Pope at the crease. England 82 for 2 on day 4 of this 5th Test match, needing a further 292 runs for victory.
Bad news there. You're listening to Sunday Edition. Blast from the Past is next and features one of the great managerial rivalries.
10k for Coldplay.
Time is running out to enter our huge prize draw to win 10 grand and a VIP night out at Coldplay at Wembley Stadium. That's right, we're giving you the chance to win 6 tickets in a private box for you and your mates on August the 22nd with full hospitality, and we're chucking in that 10 grand spending money completely tax-free. It all ends tomorrow night, so here's how to enter. 18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word WIN to 83338 by the 4th of August at 11 p.m. and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or post your name and number to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com.
Just before we get on to other matters, another text and SMSs, all sorts of emails and everything have been coming in on issues affecting EFL clubs, particularly Sheffield Wednesday. And Gareth in Derbyshire says it would take a club like Sheffield Wednesday to disappear before the real problem is addressed. The FA are at fault because in 1992 they allowed the Premier League to destroy our pyramid. The disparity in income between the 20 Premier League clubs and the 72 EFL clubs is the heart of the problem. That's from Gareth in Derbyshire. Dara didn't really back that up, though, did he? He said there's lots of people who want to buy clubs and they admire our pyramid system even as it stands now.
Yeah, just on the sort of the Premier League and the pyramid, obviously the new deal, the huge television money which is centred on the top level of the game, that needs to be spread out more sort of sensibly. And at that point, you know, that will come, and with the independent football regulator coming in, that might focus minds for the Premier League and the EFL to sort that out. And the reason why it's important to have a strong pyramid is that it clearly helps the top. You can't have promotion and relegation in the Premier League without the EFL. I think there've been 52 clubs so far have played in the Premier League since 92-93. So clearly you want stronger teams sort of coming up, and then you don't want the sort of the yo-yo. You need one or two of the clubs, preferably 3, to stay up, to keep that quality, to keep that turnover. Plus the amount of players. I mean, when England go into a tournament, the EFL always put out the statistics of the thousands of games that the England 23/26 have played in the EFL, whether it's at academies, whether it's in trophies, other competitions, whether it's on loan, and also managers. You know, managers need to get a chance. We've been talking about some sort of good young homegrown managers, but they need to get a chance in the EFL and then hope at some point they either get a team up or get talent spotted by one of the elite teams. So absolutely, the pyramid is vital in this country.
But you don't agree that the Premier League has destroyed it?
I don't think it's destroyed. You can't say that, but I think the Premier League need to be a little bit more enlightened and front foot in supporting the EFL.
Okay, now it's time for this.
It's one small step for man.
That is very good.
I shook up the world!
Blast from the past with Henry Winter and Shaun Custis.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over.
On talkSPORT.
It is now. I love football, Stan! I love it!
Now today we're going back to this day 10 years ago, the Community Shield of 2015, where Arsene Wenger's Arsenal beat Jose Mourinho's Chelsea for the first time in 14 attempts. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain scored the winner in the first half for the Gunners, but the drama continued long after the full-time whistle. Both managers refusing to shake hands afterwards, and Jose Mourinho wasn't impressed with the way that Arsenal approached the match.
I think the best team lost, but many times the best team lose, and many times the team that doesn't have the ball and the team that defends with the big accumulation of players behind the ball line deserves to win. With some managers, people used to say they parked the bus. With others, they say tactically brilliant. So you have to decide today, or they parked the bus or they were tactically brilliant. You know, certain matches is a lot of matches. In certain matches, you have to learn something. So obviously they learn something. They used to say philosophy, 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 but sometimes they are also able to change, so they change, and okay, they deserve.
Look, everybody has his opinion. I think once you will look at the clear-cut chances on both sides, you will see that it's not so obvious. I believe we have a good unity, we have a good solidarity, we share the way we want to play football, and we have talent as well. So that's all good ingredients. Now we go into the season, and there will be this kind of battle every week.
Vintage stuff. Those were the days. Managerial rivalry like that. And of course, with Chelsea losing the Community Shield, we all know that the Community Shield mattered to Jose Mourinho
because
he always counted it as a trophy. But this is the beginning of the end of his second spell at Chelsea, and a rare victory for Wenger. If we look at some of the papers, back page of The Sun, grow up. Wenger and Jose act like brats again.
So who was saying that? Was that you as a sports editor, or was that a comment?
We're telling them to grow up.
The Sun.
I didn't really.
The Sun lectures two of the greatest managers of the modern era.
Even in that, what we in the Times, Mourinho has dig at Arsenal after rivals end 11-year hoodoo. There, and then there's the mention of the fact Oxlade-Chamberlain scored. And actually, I've pulled out the Evening Standard from the Monday here, where John Terry says losing to Arsenal's a wake-up call, which indeed is interesting because, as I say, most teams, your Man Cities and all that, if they lose the Community Shield, it's shrug of the shoulders. In fact, when they lost the Community Shield, they usually went on to win the league, I think, didn't they?
Erling Haaland. Everyone was saying Núñez is a better striker than Erling Haaland after that one. I think it was at the King Power.
But this game really mattered to these two managers.
Because it was against each other? Because of that sort of rivalry?
But the rivalry's the thing. We loved it. I don't think we've had a rivalry quite like it since.
I mean, it was even spikier than, well, almost as spiky, that's a debate, with Ferguson and Wenger. But I think
it's Wenger the common denominator. So is it his fault? I mean, he often seems quite an innocent party in these two things. But was Wenger a wind-up merchant? Why did he get under the skin?
I don't think he was a wind-up merchant. I think there was always a sort of slight feeling amongst certain managers, particularly the sort of the British managers, that he didn't necessarily partake in the
match a glass of wine and all of that.
I mean, exactly. I mean, he should be an expert on quality French produce, having grown up in a French inn in the Alsace region. But also what I find fascinating, and on the back of Jose's comments, is parking the bus a philosophy? I mean, it might not be a philosophy that you or I agree with or particularly enjoy watching, but it's still philosophy. It doesn't necessarily have to be an upmarket word.
Was that the game that invented parking the bus? Was that the first? Was that the first time it cropped up?
I think parking the bus.
Was it before that? The history of parking the bus.
I'm sure the Royal Engineers parked the tram back in the days. I'm sure there's been it's been around for a while. But remember, this I think was on the back of a Specialist in Failure, when Jose had that little jab at Wenger.
It wasn't just little. It's pretty nasty.
And remember, Wenger was slightly on the slide in that period in terms of the sort of drift towards the end of the end of that era. But yeah, it was dramatic. There isn't that sort of tense rivalry, and any managers now have it in for each other.
Quite respectful of each other, manager-wise. Now,
you don't like that, do you?
But the rivalries were great, weren't they? I mean, you know. Fergie v Wenger was fantastic, and Wenger.
The apology must have been coming by horse.
That was one of the great ones. Yeah. Wenger to
and then that
to
extraordinary sight of sort of Wenger in the Old Trafford crowd, having been sent off, standing on almost an exit sign with his arms stretched out.
I mean, it's something. That's a rivalry I really miss. Jose versus Wenger. Interestingly, in this game, just as a side issue, Peter Cech played in goal for Arsenal. We were talking about legends earlier on. He'd moved from Chelsea, playing goal for Arsenal. Didn't really get stick from Chelsea fans. They loved him. Arsenal fans loved him. He is a legend.
Do you think goalkeepers, it's easier for them to
Jennings, who I mentioned earlier on,
that they can make the move, whereas Sol Campbell, centre-halves, players like that, I think it's the manner in which they move and the controversy and the feeling of hurt. But yeah, I think Petr Cech. Also, remember, Jose Mourinho came out slightly unhappy that I think he was leaving.
But what was it? I can't remember whose choice it was. Was it Cech's choice to Was he out of contract?
Maybe.
Anyway. So, yeah, Community Shield from 10 years ago. Fantastic fun. Arsenal winning. And, of course, next weekend, it will be the Community Shield. And, who's that between? It's actually Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. What are you expecting from that?
A lot of focus on Mark Gay, because I'm sure that Liverpool, if they're looking at their central defensive options and they've been linked with Mark Gay, obviously there'll be a lot of interest there. Interesting to see Eze, Arsenal obviously being heavily linked. I'm turning to Alex Crook here. Eze, I think there'll be a lot of focus on issues like that, and also how teams hit the ground running. They always say, players are so fit in pre-season now that they should hit the ground running more quickly. So I think we'll just see a fantastic celebration of the return of club football, which 8 p.m. last Friday was magnificent. Luton against AFC Wimbledon, not the best of first halves, but fantastic to have club football back.
Yep. Agreed. Palace v Liverpool in the Community Shield will be live on talkSPORT next weekend, next Sunday. That's it. It's a wrap. Up next, warm up with Max Rushton and Barry Glendenning.